Good morning, students. So today we are going to start our next topic in chapter Life Processes, and our next topic is transportation in plants. So students, in this topic, I am going to tell you that how different substances they are transported in different parts of the plant. As you have learned in the previous lectures, that plants they are autotrophic in nature and they do the process of photosynthesis for manufacturing their food, and for this purpose they use various type of raw materials such as carbon dioxide, sunlight from sun, chlorophyll pigment that is present in the leaves of the plant. So by using this raw material, the plants they produce the simplest type of carbohydrates, and which are glucose. And what you see in the process of photosynthesis, that in the process of photosynthesis, oxygen gas, it later comes out as a byproduct of this metabolic reaction. So here in this topic, I am going to tell you that how different substances they are transported in the various cells and tissues of the plants. So similarly, I also want to tell you that there are different type of nutrients which are essential for the growth of plants, such as nitrogen, phosphorus. So all of these nutrients the plants they generally collect from the soil. So as you know that plants they are stationary in their habitats and they cannot move from one place to another like the animals do. So these plants, they required a proper type of transportation system by which the essential needs of the plants can be fully satisfied. So here I am going to tell you that some special type of vascular tissues, they are present in plants, and these vascular tissues you have also learned in your previous class. They are xylem and phloem, and they are very much developed in case of higher plants such as gymnosperms and angiosperms. So this xylem, which is a kind of a vascular tissue, it is actually responsible for the conduction of water and minerals from the soil to the various parts of the plant. And the phloem, which is another type of vascular tissue, it is actually responsible for the conduction of food, which is actually produced in the leaf of the plant, and from where this food is translocated to different parts of the plant. So let us proceed further. First of all, I want to tell you about the transport system. So there are two transport system in plant. One that transport water and minerals from roots to other parts of the plant, and this system mainly consists of a vascular tissue called xylem, and another type of system which is actually involved in the translocation of sugars, which may be in the form of glucose or sucrose and various amino acids which are formed in the leaves to the other parts of the plant. So here the tissue which is responsible for translocation of these food molecules from the leaves to the various parts of the plant, it is actually the phloem tissue. So first of all, I want to tell you few points about transport in plants. So what kind of substances that are generally transported in plants? So first is water and minerals. So the roots of plant, they collect water and minerals from the soil on the basis of a concentration gradient that actually develops in the cells of the roots. So these water and minerals, they are actually transported with the help of xylem tissue. And second very important thing is the process of transpiration. It is also a dominant process, and through this process the excess water it comes out through the leaves of the plant, and it also have an advantage that it prevents the leaf from any kind of photo burning. Another thing is sugars are also translocated in the plant, and the chief tissue which is responsible for this is a phloem. So the flow of these simplest sugars, which may be glucose or fructose, they actually happens in a form of a bulk. So it is a kind of a bulk flow. So this bulk flow, it actually starts from the leaves of the plant and move towards the target organ. So the target organ may be anything or any part of the plant. It may be root, it may be stem, it may be the branches, etc. So gases are also exchanged. You know that special type of pores, they are present in the upper and lower epidermis of the leaves, and they are known as stomata. So through these stomata, the gaseous exchange takes place. That is, carbon dioxide gas is entered into the leaf of the plant for the purpose of photosynthesis. And as an end product of photosynthesis, oxygen gas is evolved, and it also comes out from the leaf through these stomatals. So besides stomatals, some special type of cells, they are also found in the stems. These may be lenticels, and in case of monocot species, the special type of pores, they are actually present in the veins of the leaves of monocots, and they are known as hydathoids. So through these hydathoids, the extra water, it comes out, and this you can observe during early morning season. You can say early morning time. Yes, student. So I have already explained that the vascular tissues are of two types. These may be xylem or phloem. So xylem is involved in the conduction of the water and minerals from the roots to the various parts of the plant. And phloem is concerned here with the transport of food substances. And this food is actually manufactured in the leaf. And from the leaf, it moves to various parts of the plant. So here the leaves, they are known as, you can say here the leaves, they are actually the place where the food is synthesized and it is moving towards the target organs. It may be root, stems, or anything. Yes, children, you know that xylem carries water and nutrients, and that enter the plant in the root, up through the stem, and out to all parts of the leaves. And what about phloem? So this phloem, it runs parallel to the xylem, and it carries a sugar that is produced in the leaves, dissolved in the fluid to all parts of the plant. Yes, children, xylem is responsible for conduction of minerals, salts, and water from the roots to the upper region of the plant, and also provide mechanical support to the plant. So how it provides mechanical support, that I will tell you later. So xylem is also called as a wood and forms the bulk of the roots and stems of the vascular plants. Xylem is composed of three types of cells, and which are living and some are non-living. So here I am going to tell you about the components of the xylem. So the xylem tissue, which is the main tissue for the conduction of water and minerals, it actually consists of following type of cells. Tracheids. Tracheids are such a type of cells which are actually responsible for a short distance transport of water and minerals. So they are generally found in lower plants. And vessel members or vessels, they are actually the longer cells, elongated cells. And these elongated cells, they are joined with each other in a chain-like fashion and provided with pits on their lateral walls. And in this way, they are generally found in the, you can say, taller trees. And they are responsible for long distance movement of water and minerals. Beside tracheids and vessels, which are actually involved in the transport of water and minerals, xylem tissue, it also consists of xylem parenchyma and xylem fibers. The student, xylem parenchyma is a specialized type of parenchyma tissue, and this parenchyma tissue actually stores some amount of water within the xylem, so that you can say the turgidity of a particular plant organ, it maintains. And what is xylem fiber? So these xylem fibers are actually the special type of fiber-like tissues which are present on the walls of the xylem, and this provide extra protection to the xylem tissue when the movement of water and minerals takes place in the form of a stream through the xylem tissue. Yes, student. Here I am going to tell you the function of xylem in water transport. So xylem is mainly involved in the transport of water along with the minerals from the roots to the leaves of the plant. So here on the screen, I have shown you the different type of the xylem cells. These may be tracheids or vessel members. You can easily see the difference between the tracheids and vessel member. Tracheids are responsible for short distance movement of water and minerals. And these vessels, they are actually the chain of cells which are joined with each other in a chain-like fashion, provided by broader pits at their lateral walls, and they are responsible for a long distance movement of water and minerals. So here I want to tell you that vessel elements, they are only found in the angiosperms, and these vessel elements, they connect end to end, and the ends are absent or perforated. That means the larger pits, they are actually present in their endpoints. They are one vessel cells, it is binded with the inner. And what about tracheids? So these tracheids, they are actually found in the vascular plants. So mostly they are found in case of, you can say, gymnosperms. They are narrower than vessels and with the pointy ends, and both the types of xylem cells, they are dead at maturity. So earlier they are the living type of cells, but later on what happened, the protoplasm which is actually present in these tracheids and vessels, they move towards the periphery, they dry up, and in this way broader cavities, they are produced inside the tracheids and vessels, and that is the reason they can can transport large amount of water and minerals through them through these cavities. Yes, student, the elements of the xylem, they are actually known as the trachary elements. So I have already explained that they are the non-living type of cells, and they provide support and they conduct water. And you know that water is not alone transported in the cells. So along with water, the minerals, they also transported by this xylem tissue. So these trachary elements may be tracheids or vessels. So tracheids are elongated type of cells, tube-like cells. They are tapering at their ends. Rounded or oval ends may be present in these. And hard lignified walls are there in the tracheids. Means the walls of the tracheids, they are made up of a dead tissue which is known as lignin. Then vessel members. So vessel members, they are again long cylindrical cells, and they are also tube-like cells, and they also have lignified walls. That means a proper amount of lignin tissue. It is actually present in the walls of these vessel members. Yes, children, function of xylem. So broadly, we can see xylem is playing following functions. Number one, water conducting tissue. Number two, along with the phloem, it makes the vascular tissue. And third one is it also provide support to the plants, because you know that the trachary, you know that the xylem elements, they also contains xylem fibers too. Yes, student. The next type of the vascular tissue is the phloem. So this tissue is mostly found in the vascular plants, and its main function is transport of sugars and other kind of food materials. You know that this food material is actually synthesized in the leaves of the plant. So from this leaf, the translocation of these sugar molecules and food materials, it takes place to the other parts of the plants. So xylem and phloem, they together form the vascular bundle. So here you can see the component cells of the phloem. So the main cells which are involved in the translocation of food material, they are the sieve tube elements. And sieve tube elements, along the sieve tube elements, a special type of cells, they run along with these sieve tube elements, and they are known as the companion cells. So why these companion cells, they run along with the sieve tube elements? The only reason is that the sieve tube elements, they do not have their own nucleus for directions. So they utilize the nucleus of these companion cells, and in this way they are involved in the translocation of food materials. Yes, student, here I am telling you the main function of the phloem. So phloem perform a function of movement of substances such as sugars and ions, and this process is known as a translocation. So main components of the phloem tissue are sieve elements and companion cells. So sieve elements are of two types. If they are responsible for short distance transport of food, then they are known as sieve cells. If they are involved in long distance movement of food material, then they are known as sieve tube members. So the sieve tube members are elongated tube-like cells having perforations at their ends. Yes, children, here I have written the components of the phloem tissue. So main are sieve tube elements, then we have companion cells, which are actually running along with the sieve tube elements. And then we have phloem parenchyma and phloem fibers. So here you can see the diagram of the sieve tube elements along with companion cells and phloem parenchyma. So you can see some specific type of plates that are present at the ends of the sieve tube members, and it is known as a sieve plate. So I have already explained that the sieve tube members, they do not have their own nucleus. So a special type of cells known as companion cells, they actually run along with these sieve tube members, and these sieve tube members, they actually do their task by utilizing the nucleus of the companion cells. And why the phloem parenchyma is present? So you know that parenchyma tissue is always involved in the storage. So here they are storing the extra food in the phloem, which is later used by different parts of the plant for various metabolic activities. Yes, student, here again I have written the components of the phloem tissue. So I have already explained sieve cells. They are generally found in case of gymnosperms and lower vascular plants, whereas sieve tube members, they are dominant in case of angiosperms. The function you know very well, they are involved in transport of photosynthetes or products of photosynthesis. And companion cells, what are these? So these companion cells, they are special type of cells that actually run along with the sieve cells, and they helps in the movement of translocation of food or sugars from leaves to various parts. And in this way, their nucleus, they are playing an important role, because the sieve tube members, they do not have their nucleus. So parenchyma cells are also there, which is actually involved in the storage of the food. And fibers are also there, phloem fibers are also there, and these are the special type of fibrous cells, which are actually the dead cells. They are present at the walls of the phloem tissue, and in this way they provide extra protection to the walls of the phloem tissue while the movement of the bulk flow of food. So they are actually the special type of sclerates, and they belongs to sclerenchyma cells. Yes, children, here I have written the differences between phloem and xylem. So phloem transport food and nutrients like sugar and amino acids, whereas xylem transport water and minerals from roots to the aerial parts of the plant. It may be branches, stem, flowers, fruits, etc. Phloem is always doing bidirectional movement, or that means moves up and down the plant stem from source to sink. So here the source is actually the leaf where the photosynthates they are produced, and sink is actually that target organ where we have to shift those photosynthetes or translocate those photosynthetes. It may be root, it may be stem, branches, flowers, or fruits. Yes, student, always remember that xylem tissue is involved in unidirectional movement, that is moves up the plant's stem, because you know that the roots of the plant is actually present in the bottom region of the plant, and from where these roots, they absorb water and minerals. So the movement of the water and minerals, it happens in a unidirectional manner from roots to various aerial parts of the plant. Yes, children, next is living tissue. The xylem is actually living tissue with very little this phloem is actually living tissue with very little cytoplasm, but no nucleus is there. Whereas this xylem is actually the dead tissue when it gets mature. So it is hollow within the center with no cell contents. Yes, phloem is not a star shape and xylem is a star shape in appearance. Yes, now we comes on the main topic. What is ascent of sap? You have heard this term so many times. What is ascent of sap? So ascent of sap means the upward movement of water from the roots to the aerial parts of the plant body. This is actually called as a translocation of water, or you can say ascent of sap. So I have already explained the roots that are present in the bottom of the plant, they actually collect water and minerals from the soil. And in this way, these water and minerals, it is later distributed to the various parts of the plant from the roots to stem, to leaves, branches, flowers, and fruits. So the process of upward movement of water from the root to various aerial part of the plant body, it is known as ascent of sap. So it is fascinating to understand that how water moves in plants to such a greater height, such as 400 feet or more. For example, trees like sequoia, which is the taller tree species, they are as tall as 300 to 400 feet. And they are the 400 years old and giant among the tree plants. So these plants, they transport water through their stem. It must be incredible. Yes, student, here I want to explain you the mechanism of transport of water by this xylem tissue actually. So children, you must remember that this xylem tissue, how it is involved in the process of transportation of water. So there are different theories that are devised by the scientists time to time to explain the mechanism of water transportation by the xylem tissue. The first theory that was given by the scientist is the root pressure theory. So this root pressure theory, what this theory said actually, this root pressure theory states that the root cells, they are in contact with the soil. You know that the roots of the plant, they are actually present in the, you can say, lower or bottom portion of the plant. So when these root cells, they comes in contact with the soil, then what happen? These root cells, they actively take up some of the minerals that are actually present in the soil substrate. So as a result, what happen? These minerals, which are actually taken by these root cells, they accumulate in the first cell of the root, and as a result, a concentration gradient is actually established. So the first cell of the root, it contains certain amount of these minerals, whereas it has very less quantity. It has no quantity of water, and water is present in abundance in the soil. So what happened as a potential difference creates between the first cell of the root and the soil. So these water molecules, they rush from the soil and it enters into the first cell of the root. Now what happened when these water molecules, they are moving towards the first cell of the root, they exert a pressure on this cell, and as a result, the minerals which are actually present in that cell, it shifted from first cell to the next cell. So as a result, again a concentration gradient is established between the two cells of the root, that is the second cell and the first cell. So again the water from the first cell, it moved towards the second cell to balance the concentration gradient that is established between them. So in this way, the concentration gradient is shifted from one cell of the root to another, and later from the root cells to the stem cells, then from stem cells to the cells of the branches. And in this way, by this root pressure, a kind of a pressure it develops, and this pressure is actually involved in the transport of water from one cell to the another cell. That means from one cell of the root, the water transported towards the various cells of the stem, then the branches, etc. So there is a steady movement of water into the root xylem and creating a column of water that is steadily pushed upwards. And this is due to the creation of a pressure in the xylem vessels of the roots. And this is known as the root pressure. So generally root pressure, water movement through root pressure, it actually takes place when the transpiration rate is very low. जब ट्रांसपिरेशन रेट बहुत कम होता है, उस समय हमें रूट प्रेशर जो है वो बिल्ड होते हुए नजर आता है, और रूट प्रेशर से जो वाटर है वो सिर्फ सर्टेन हाइट तक ही रेज कर सकते हैं. ठीक है, तो इफ द ट्रीज आर द टॉलर ट्रीज, then in that case, root pressure cannot play a significant role in the transport of water. So root pressure is generally involved at that time when the transpiration rate it is actually low. So here I have written some important points about this root pressure. So see children, the root pressure is actually the transverse osmotic pressure within the cells of a root system, and that causes the sap to rise through a plant stem to the leaves. So root pressure, it actually occurs in the xylem of some of the vascular plants when the soil moisture level is very high, either at night or when the transpiration rate is low during the daytime. So at that time, the movement of the water as well as minerals, which is actually known as sap, it takes place with the help of this root pressure. Yes, student, here I have explained you one more theory that is responsible for the ascent of sap within the plants. So sap word is here used for movement of water along with minerals and other ions. So here scientists have also given one another theory that gives a suitable explanation of this concept, and that is the transpiration pull theory. So transpiration pull theory or cohesion theory. What is this theory actually? So first of all, I want to tell you that this theory was proposed by two scientists in the year 1894, and their names were Dickson and Joule. So this theory is actually based on the cohesive and adhesive properties of water. Means the water molecules, they always move in a chain-like fashion because each water molecules, they are attracted towards other water molecules by a kind of forces which are known as cohesive and adhesive forces, and by virtue of which each water molecule feels a kind of attractive force, and in this way the water molecule cannot move alone, whereas a stream of water molecules, they move in the form of a column. So this transpiration pull force, it is actually develops in the leaves by the process of transpiration. You know that the transpiration process, it is unique in plants, and by this process the excess water that is present in the plants, it is removed from the leaves with the help of special type of pores present in the upper and lower epidermis of leaves, which are known as stomatas. So during the daytime, the stomatas, they are actually open. So this transpiration, it happens smoothly. So as a result, what happens? The cells of the leaves, which directly comes in contact with the sunlight, from there, these cells, evaporation of the water, it actually takes place. So as a result, these cells, they become empty. So in order to protect themselves, what these cells do, these first cells of the leaves do, they push the water that is present in the adjacent leaf cells. So as a result, deficiency is created in the adjacent leaf cells, and in order to protect themselves, they also pull the water from the cells which are adjacent to them. So in this way, the water column is pushed by the different cells of the leaves, and when they pushed water from each and every cell of the leaf, and when the last cells of the leaves, they get empty, they pull the water from the branches, then from the stem, and as a result, a negative type of deficiency develops between the branches, stems, and as well as the cells of the root. So this negative signal, it finally proceed towards the root, and as a result, what happened? The root cells, they have very less amount of water, and more amount of water is there in the water column. So by the simple method of diffusion, lot of water, it rushes towards the root cells, and from the root cell it moves towards the stem, then branches, and then leaves, and again the cells of the leaves, they become saturated with water. So here I want to tell you about important terms that I have used in this theory. First is cohesion. Cohesion is the phenomena of attraction between similar molecules. So you know that different water molecules are very much similar with each other. So they are attracted by cohesive forces, and in this way these water molecules, they remain together. So there is a attraction between water molecules and the inner wall of the xylem via adhesive properties, because you know that the xylem tissues, their cavities are not much broader. So by the capillary force, because you have also learned about capillary force in your physics classes. So when the column is very narrow, in that case, the liquid, it rises up to a certain height. So here also, the cavities of the xylem tissue are the narrower one. So by virtue of these cohesive and adhesive forces as well as capillary forces, water rises up to uh, a characteristic height in larger trees or taller trees. So in this way, the water forms a continuous column in the xylem vessels. So as soon as the water is removed by transpiration from the leaves, so these leaves, they pull water from the adjacent cells of the leaves, and when all the cells of the leaves, they pull water from each other and they get empty. In that situation, they pull the water from the branches and from the stem, and as a result, a severe deficiency of water, it actually develops in the stem as well as the roots. So this signal, it finally reaches the root cells, and a proper concentration gradient is established, a potential difference is established. So water molecules in a column like way, they rushes towards the root cell, and in this way the root cells, from these root cells, by cohesive, adhesive and capillary forces, this water, when it moves through the narrow spaces of the xylem tissue, it finally moves in a very speedy manner, and in this way they rises from roots to the vascular tissues of the stem, then to you can say branches, and finally the leaf cells, they become saturated with water. So this is the main theory which actually explain that how water or how the ascent of sap, it actually happens in taller trees who have very tall height, such as 300 feet to 400 feet, as in case of the tallest tree of the world, which is Sequoia. Yes, children. And the last of the chapter, I am going to tell you in brief about a very small topic. We have already done the topic of excretion in case of human beings. So here I want to tell you that excretion is not a unique process which is found in case of humans or animals only. Whereas plants, though they are stationary in their habitat, so many metabolic activities that are actually taking takes place in these plants too. So here these plants, they also remove their excretory products. So excretion is also found in case of plant species too. So here in this topic, I am going to tell you that how plants, they remove their various excretory products or waste products which are not required by the plant body. Yes, children, animals, as you know that animals are known to excrete waste, and they have a special set of organs or systems for the excretion of these nitrogenous waste products. And here in case of flowering plants, I want to tell you that they are also involved in the excretion of their waste products. So here I have shown you some pictures where you can easily see that the waste products, they are excreted out by various parts of the plant. It may be leaves, because you know that in the leaves stomatas are present, and oxygen gas is a byproduct or end product of photosynthesis. So it is considered as a wastage for plant species. So this oxygen gas, it actually comes out from the leaves through these stomatas. Sometimes when you pluck a leaf or a flower, what you see, a milky white substance, it actually comes out from the leaf or the branch. So these are actually the secondary metabolic products. So these secondary metabolites, it may be latex, it may be resins, tannins. So all of these secondary metabolites, they are somewhat poisonous in nature. And these plants, they actually excrete out their waste product in the form of latex, tannins, resins. And in this way, they excrete out their waste products. So many dead cells are also found in case of plants like subrins, lignins. So all of these dead cells, they also store the waste products. So sometimes what you see that the older leaves, they detach from the plant. So these older leaves, they not only detach from the plants, whereas they also accumulate certain waste products. And in this way, when the leaf is detached, the waste products, it also goes through that detached older leaf. Yes, children, here I have shown you two pictures where you can see sometimes the excess water which is actually present in the plant, it comes out through special type of pores that are present along with the veins of the leaves. So in case of you can say dicot leaves, this excess water, it actually comes out with the help of stomatas. Whereas in case of monocot species, sometime when you visit a field in early morning, what you say that these grasses species, they are generally accompanied with some water droplets that are actually present on the leaves of these species. So here a very special process is present, which is known as guttation. So special type of pores, they are present on the veins of the monocot species, and these pores are known as hydrophytes. And the process of removal of extra water through hydrophytes, it is known as guttation. So here I have shown you some of the pictures where you can easily see that how the waste products, they come out from the plant. So sometimes when you pluck the leaf, a milky white substance, it comes out, and this is known as latex. And here in the second picture, you see that the plant is doing photosynthesis, and it generally use carbon dioxide, water, light, and chlorophyll pigment and form the simplest carbohydrates. So at the end of this reaction, photosynthesis, the oxygen gas, it is evolved. And this oxygen gas, it is the end product of photosynthesis, which is considered as a waste for the plants. So its removal takes place through special type of pores present in the leaves, known as stomaters. In the third picture, you see that in a specific season, the plants, they detach their older leaves. An abscission zone develops between the leaves and the branches. So older leaves, they detach themselves from the branches. So these older leaves, they contain certain waste products. So when they detach from the branches, the waste products, they also goes through them. Yes, here I want to tell you the types of the waste that is generally excreted out by the plants and what kind of strategies they are generally used. So these plants, they use the different strategies for the purpose of excretion. Like if they want to remove oxygen or release oxygen during photosynthesis. So in that case, what they do, they have special type of storm pores which are known as stomatas, and through these stomatas, this oxygen, it goes out. And sometimes the excess water that is present in the leaves, they are excreted out from the plant by the process of transpiration, which is actually the removal of the excess water from the aerial parts of the plant. And sometimes the plants, they shed their leaves, and along with those shedding leaves, the waste products, they goes out. And other kind of waste products which are stored in the older xylem tissues, they may be resins or gums. So sometimes when you do the tapping of the stems, what you find that some of the black color substance or gummy substance, it comes out from the tapped stem, and it may be resins or gums. Yes, children, here I have shown you a picture that is related with photosynthesis, that how photosynthesis, it takes place in plants. So here carbon dioxide and water are the raw material. In the presence of chlorophyll and light energy, the photosynthesis takes place and glucose is formed and oxygen gas is released in the form of a waste product. Yes, here I have written the detailed account that is related with plant excretion. So please go through this account. I have already explained what kind of waste products they are excreted out by plants. Yes, children, here I have shown you that waste compounds are often stored in the dead hardwood, a kind of a, you can say, dead wood. Sometimes when you cut the tree, or sometimes when you see the trunk of a older tree, you see that it is somewhat circular in shape, and the outer portion of that trunk is somewhat lighter in appearance, and in the center a dark portion is present. So the wood that is present in the central region, it is known as the heartwood. Then sometimes the waste products, they also comes out from the plant in the form of a bark. And sometimes these waste products or compounds, they are stored in leaves, which actually dies off or fall off from the plant. So when chlorophyll breaks down, other compounds in the leaves give the characteristic autumn colors seen just before the leaf fall. So what you see when the leaf have to be detached from the plant, you know that the leaf, you can say the color of the older leaf, it is not actually green in color. So what happened in the older leaf, the chlorophyll pigment is actually dries up. So as a result, the dark brown color, it actually develops in the older leaf, and that leaf now detached from the plant. And this detached leaf, it also carries waste products along with it. Yes, student, here I have shown you the process of guttation. So what is guttation? Guttation is the loss of excess water as a liquid drops from the margins of leaves of herbaceous plants. So mostly the process of guttation, it is actually seen in case of herbs, and here the margins of the leaves of the herbs, they contain some liquid drops. So when the root pressure is very high and the transpiration is low, when the rate of transpiration is low and the root pressure is very high, then in that case you observe this phenomenon known as guttation. So here the excess water, it appears on the margins of the leaf as liquid drops. And this water, it usually contains some sugars and salts too. So I have already explained that in herbaceous plants or in monocot plants, along the veins of the plant, special type of pores are present, which are known as hydrophytes. And through these hydrophytes, the liquid drops, they comes out and they accumulate themselves on the margins of the leaves. Yes, student, here I have written something more about this process of guttation. So you can say that sometimes transpiration is impossible and plant remove gases that such as carbon dioxide and oxygen by water droplets. So this process is known as guttation. So not only the removal of the water, extra salts, ions, they actually takes place through this process of guttation. But when the process of transpiration is very low, you can say it is somewhat impossible due to adverse condition in the plant habitat. In that situation, the removal of the exchange of gases, carbon dioxide and oxygen cannot take place because the stomata, they are not open at all. So that time, the removal of the gases or the entry of the CO2 gas and oxygen removal, it actually happens by the process of guttation. So what are hydrophoids? So hydrophoids are the pores that excrete water in the process of guttation. So here you can see these small pores which are actually present adjacent to the veins only, and through these hydrophoids, the excess water, it comes out and then accumulated on the margins of the leaves like this. So it looks so beautiful when you visit a field during early morning when the root pressure is very high and the transpiration is very low. Yes, children, here I am going to show you the other type of excretory products which are generally excreted by the plants. So here different type of excretory products, they are excreted on plants. These may be the essential oils, and these essential oils, they are generally the volatile one. That means they can easily convert into vapors, and they are actually present in fruits such as oranges or citrus fruits such as citrus or something. So in that case, sometimes when you apply a pressure on the, you can say peel of these fruits, so these volatile oils, they comes out. So for these essential oils, by these essential oils, we can obtain citrus oil, lavender oil, etc. The another type of excretory product of the plants, they are the alkaloids. So these alkaloids, they are actually the nitrogenous waste products, and they examples of these alkaloids, it may be nicotine, which is present in the tobacco leaves, caffeine, which is present in the coffee seeds, and morphine, which are present in the coffee plant, and cocaine, which is actually obtained from the coca plant. Tannin, another type of the excretory product. So tannin is a type of a bitter waste material and these are actually used for the tanning of leather. Sometimes you see that the dyeing of the leather takes place. Is done in the factories. This process is known as tanning of leather. So for this purpose, this waste material which comes out from the plant, known as a tannin, it is used. And it is also involved in the preparation of the ink. So human beings, they are actually using these waste products of plants, which are commonly known as the secondary metabolites for human welfare. The last type of the excretory product of the plants are the latex. So what is this latex? This latex is a sticky, milky white kind of substance or secondary metabolite. Sometimes when you pluck the leaves and you pluck certain flowers or the small branches from the trees, a milky white sticky substance in the form of emulsion, and it is rich in protein, gums and resin, it comes out. It is known as latex. So here I have shown you the pictures of the excretory products that are generally found in case of plants. So in the first picture, you can see the latex comes out from the tree when you done the tapping of the tree trunk or stem. And in the second one, you see the gummy substance that comes from the bark of the stem. And here in the third substance, you see that special type of resins or tannins, they actually comes from the lower portion of the leaf. And here you see the process of rotation where the excess water, it comes out through the pores hydrophoids. So that's complete our chapter life process. So go through the chapter and revise the concept with the help of these presentation. So that's all in today's lecture, students. So I'm quite hopeful that the concepts are very much clear to you. So revise your chapter and send me your doubts. Thank you.